Housekeepers, what is the most shocking discovery you've found in a guest's room? I was working for a little motel where I was employed for a little over 7 years. My duties were to go around and make sure everyone was out of the rooms by checkout time so that I could start cleaning them. Checkout time was for 12 p.m. and no later than 12:15 p.m., or they would not get their key deposit back. So I get to this one room, I knock a few times, and I yell, "Housekeeping," but no one answers the door. I still had some rooms to check on, so I figured I would circle back and try that room again after I finished checking the rest of the rooms. It was going to be a really busy day because it was the day after Mardi Gras, which is a tradition we have here in New Orleans. That means just about everyone was leaving the motel that day to go back home. So I knew I was going to have a lot of rooms to clean, and they were going to be a mess. I was so busy running back and forth cleaning and doing the laundry that I totally forgot about that one room that didn't answer. Now it's almost 4 p.m., and I get a call on my walkie-talkie radio, and it's the front desk. "Hey, what's going on with room 102? They haven't checked out yet." I think to myself, oh no, I forgot. I'm going to check now. So I stopped what I was doing and went up to room 102. I proceeded to knock and yell, "Housekeeping, it's way past checkout time and you need to go to the office." I waited a minute. No answer. I knocked and yelled again, "Housekeeping, please open the door." Still no answer. So I knocked one more time and yelled, "Housekeeping, if you don't open the door, I'm coming in." I waited a few and no answer, so I got my master key out and tried to open the door. At that time, we had chain locks on the inside of the doors for a little more security. Well, when I opened this door, the chain was attached so I could only open it wide enough for maybe an arm could fit through. The room was pitch black. I could barely see anything inside. I yell, "Housekeeping, anybody inside, it's time for you to come out of the room." No one answers. But I know someone is in the room because the chain lock was attached, and you could only do that by someone being inside. So I go get a flashlight and return to the room. I open the door and flash the light inside. So the way the room is set up and the little space that the door would open, I could only see a piece of the bed and a dresser. As I put the light in the room, all I could see was a pair of legs hanging off the side of the bed. I yelled, "Housekeeping, wake up, it's time to get up." No answer. The legs didn't even budge. I yelled a few more times and nothing. So I managed to kind of squeeze in the door a little more to where I could see a mirror on the wall. I flashed the light on the mirror. Now I can see the whole bed through the mirror, and I can see a man lying across the bed. I yell a few more times to try and get his attention and wake him up, but nothing. By this time it was getting late, and I still had so much work to do. I'm thinking this man had a good night of partying and drinking and was just trying to sleep it off. But I had to get him out of the room because the room was already booked for that day by another guest. He's not answering me, and I have to get in this room. I thought, well, I can just bust the chain off the door and fix it once I can get this man out of the room. So I start pushing on the door 2 or 3 times, and the door flies open. The man is lying across the bed butt naked, and the room reeked of alcohol. I called out to him from the door a few more times to get up, but he didn't budge. So I have to go in because he's not waking up and I have to get him out. As I get closer to him, I can see that his chest and stomach are not moving. I'm starting to get scared at this point. I get up to the bed and to my horror, the man's skin had patches of purple spots. I touched his knee to try and wake him, but he was cold to the touch. I ran so fast out of that room, I've never run so fast in my life. I was so shaken up and my nerves were so bad that I couldn't even press the button on the walkie-talkie to call the front desk. I finally calmed myself down enough to call 911. Within 5 minutes, the parking lot was full of police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, crime scene detectives, and the coroner. I sat there upset and crying as the detectives were trying to question me. I felt so bad because this man was so young and had a full life ahead of him. All I could think of was that he was probably a father, brother, uncle, someone's child, and his family was never going to see him again alive. I watched in horror as the coroner wheeled his body out to the van. After everything was done and the parking lot was empty, I sat there thinking about this poor man's family. I was very upset, so my boss sent me home for the rest of the day. I've seen dead bodies before at funerals, but not like this. this was on a whole other level. I didn't go to work that day expecting to find a dead person in one of the rooms. And I've seen stuff like this on TV before, but it's one of those things where you think this would never happen to me. Well, it did. And I wasn't right for a while after this happened. But for some reason, I kept thinking about this man's family. So when I went back to work, I found the man's name on his sign in sheet and a copy of his driver's license. When I got home that night, I looked for him on Facebook, and as my luck would have it, I found him. I went on his profile and found his mother's profile. I was kind of hesitant at first, but this feeling wouldn't let me be, and I just knew I had to talk to this lady. After some thinking, I sent her a message on the Facebook Messenger leaving my phone number and asking her to please give me a call, which was very important. A few days went by and I checked the message, and I could see that she had seen the message but never replied or called me. So I sent one more message, and the next day the lady called me. I started off the conversation by telling her who I was and where I worked. I told her that I was wanting to talk to her because her son had stayed in the motel where I was working. And before I could say anything else, she said, "Oh my God, did he leave something behind, silly kid? He's always forgetting something." At that moment, my heart shattered into a million pieces because then I knew that this lady didn't even know that her son was no longer alive and that I was going to be the one who had to tell her. My voice cracked as I said, "No, ma'am, he didn't leave anything behind, but I'm very, very sorry to inform you that your son has passed away." I felt like my heart had busted out of my chest. The lady cried a little and asked me if I knew what had happened, and I told her no. I told her that there were no visible signs of the cause of death, so I gave her the coroner's number and address where they had taken him. I apologized over and over for her loss, and that I was the one who had to tell her. She thanked me and told me that I didn't do anything wrong, that she was forever grateful that I found her, and gave her the news. We said our goodbyes, and I told her that if she ever needed anything, please don't hesitate to call. As soon as we hung up, that bad feeling I was having went right away. I don't know what it was, but something kept telling me to do something. And I feel in my heart that if I didn't do what I did, then this lady would have never gotten the news about her son. She did say that no one called her or even tried to get in touch with her to inform her of anything. So I think I did the right thing. Going back to work after that, it was a scare knocking on doors, and believe me when I tell you that this guy was the first, but unfortunately not the last. In the whole 7 years that I worked there, I found 4 bodies. I quit after the last one I found. I just couldn't do it anymore. The first one happened a little over 4 years ago, and to this day, I still keep in touch with the mother of the young man. He was her only child, and she didn't really have any family, but she's the sweetest person I've ever met.